Hey everyone, Emily here and welcome to my garden. We just put this bed together and I filled it up with dirt and planted it for the season. So I'm going to show you kind of the process that we went through, what I have inside the bed, and hopefully give you guys a great update as things start growing. So let's get started. This all started with a trip to Menards. We picked up some garden bed soil, peat moss, and topsoil, and the 2x10s that we used to construct the garden bed. You can see the base of that kind of coming together. Nyx had a great time. She was rolling around and covered in sawdust just about the entire time we were putting this together. I did help a little bit, but my fiance Nick did most of the work here. It's a pretty large garden bed. We made this with 2x10s, so it's 20 inches high and about 7 feet long on the long ends. Those very short ends are 3 feet, and then the middle L corner, that's about 4 feet on each one. We supported it on the inside with some 4x4s, and then he also put some bracing as well, so the long ends don't end up bowing out due to the weight of the soil over time. So he did add in a few extra things to kind of secure it all, as well as those wires that you see across to kind of pull everything together. So I saw a video online that said if you have a big garden bed, you should start with some layers of filler, and they suggested sticks. So I'm gonna use some of these sticks that we have lying around and get started filling this up. I have a lot to go. At my old house, I had a pretty old tree, and that's what all of these sticks are from. I would get quite a few branches down, pretty small branches, that would fall during every storm. So just kind of have some lying around, pulled them out of the fire pit and placed those over the bottom. This should provide a little extra drainage, at least that's the idea. And as they decompose, that's also going to provide maybe some natural nutrients. We'll see how that goes. I've never done this before in the bottom of a bed. That hardly made a dent. This thing is huge, and I can tell I'm going to be picking up more dirt than I already have. The next layer I'm throwing in is just some dirt that we had from the yard. We planted some trees along the back fence, so this is mixed in with quite a bit of river rock. Felt like that'd be a great base layer. It really didn't end up making much of a dent. The next layer I'm throwing in is some topsoil that we purchased at the hardware store. This is just some pretty basic topsoil. I think it's about $1.50 per bag, so nothing too fancy. It does have some peat moss mixed in, but you can use whatever you want if you are making a really deep bed like this. Some of those bottom layers, you just kind of have to fill it up with whatever you have. And I'm just trying to make as much of a dent as possible in things before I start adding the garden bed soil, which is a little bit more expensive. This is some peat moss, so that's gonna go in next. As you can see, I have a really fancy way of getting this peat moss opened up. I read that this is a great thing to add into your garden bed. It does add in a little bit of extra nutrients. It's also a bit more lightweight, so it kind of provides a little aeration. At least that's what I saw online. Worked great for me the last couple of years, so I figured I'd just do it again. That added quite a bit of depth to this. I still have this full side to do. I'm gonna work on this side and then kind of gauge how much more I need to buy, but I still have all of my raised bed soil. My final layer before I add in the compost is the raised bed soil. I'm not really sure what's in this, but I did use this same brand the last time I filled up a garden bed, and it worked really well. Once I get this all laid in, I am going to add in several bags of compost. I have a local blend of compost. It's called Grow. They make it in Omaha, and it contains a lot of the yard waste, lawn clippings that get put out on people's trash days. So this is what I used last year. It seemed to work really well. I had fantastic tomatoes. I put in about 3 or 4 bags for this size of a bed and just kind of mixed it in with everything. I think once I get the compost in, I will have it 2/3 full. But I still have a whole third that I need to fill with both dirt, soil, and compost. So as much as I wanted to avoid the garden center on a Saturday, that's where I'll be going. I'll be back when this is all filled up. All right, I have this mostly all full with a combination of topsoil, raised bed soil, and some compost. I just did what I did the past couple of years, and that seemed to work out well for me. Have everything mapped out, and this is where I'm gonna put my tomatoes. I'm gonna have some beans here and cucumbers. And then up here, I'm gonna make room for like a zucchini here and some jalapenos. So let's get this all in the ground and planted and ready to go. So here I am putting my tomatoes in. I placed the cages in advance just so I can kind of plan out where I'm going to put them. I have San Marzano tomatoes and an heirloom tomato. The San Marzano tomatoes are really great for sauce. I love making tomato sauce with my tomatoes, and the heirloom tomatoes will be great for salads and sandwiches. Even though I did plan this out, I decided that they were a little close together and I wanted to move them a bit farther apart. So I did readjust things a little bit. I have my tomatoes in, and then this year I'm going to try bush beans instead of pole beans. And I saw a video that said you could put these right on the edges of your bed and it takes up very little space. So I'm going to try that. This is my first time planting bush beans. I did pole beans in the past, and that would kind of grow up some kind of support or trellis like what you see in the back corner. I'm using that for my cucumbers this year. So making those little mounds, they do recommend that you plant these on a small hill. I've never been much of a stickler for that, and it seems to go fine. So I make just kind of a tiny little mound, and then I plant my cucumber seeds in there. And this should grow up that little teepee type trellis just fine throughout the summer. Now I've got my zucchini, and I'm gonna try and give these plenty of space because they get super big. I'm gonna try and give that some space to grow in this direction, and then plant my peppers, and I forgot I have some eggplant right up here. When I plant everything, I try and keep in mind how tall everything's going to get. So I have my tomatoes in the cages in the back along with my cucumbers, and then I'm going to have my zucchini right in front of that, but still behind my eggplant and my jalapeno so it doesn't block out the sunlight. All right, this is nearly the 1 week update as I'm putting this all together, and as you can see, I'm still waiting for everything to sprout, but we've been getting some great rain, so I'm hoping to see some little sprouts in the next couple of days. So stay tuned, I'll bring you some more updates as we get deeper into the season and we have some produce going in the garden bed. Hope to see you back here next time.